minutes to introduce Josh Herrin. Have you ever heard of Josh Herrin before? Of course, we all went for a ride out. Who is this guy? Well, thanks for sticking around. My name's Tyler Dollar from Ducati North America. Moto America champion Josh Herrin. But it doesn't just stop there, man. So I had to write down all the things he's done, and it's like,
a lot of seconds.
so So I'm gonna go down a list and tell me what I missed, okay?
Perfect.
2010, you won Daytona 200. Second youngest winner to ever win that race. It's a big one. 2013, AMA Superbike champ. 2014, you go race Moto 2. You were teammates with Johan Zarfel, right? Yeah, so go over to the big pond, race around all those tracks. And then 2016, back at AMA, Superstock champ. And then did all sorts of things for a few years, culminating in 2022, Moto America Supersport champ on Panigale V2. And then 23, super close battle all year long, finished second on the Panigale V4. And 23, won the Daytona 200. 24, one of the few people to win 3 Daytona 200s in a row, or in a series.
Yes. Yeah, that was. You put a lot of work in the.
My arm was hurt.
It's a lot of failures in the middle of all that you miss. But yes, I've been around for a long time, so it's a short list for as many years I've been around. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
It's incredible. I mean, not only the time you've been in the industry, but some of the success that you've had. Many teams, many countries. It's pretty incredible, man. So just real quick, before we chat about the U.S., when you raced in Europe at Moto 2, traveling around the globe, what was that like? Because you were pretty young when you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I was 24 and I went, and it sounds terrible to say, but it was a hard year for me. It was, you think you look at all these guys racing MotoGP, and you look at it like, that's where as a kid you want to go. And I always look at it like I didn't make it as far as I wanted to, because that's ultimately where you want to go. You want to be at GP. So going to Moto 2 was like this huge thing for me. I was so stoked to go. And it was just a really hard year. I had a 2-year contract with the team, and they weren't happy with the results the first year. And they ended up, it was Caterham, they had a Formula 1 team, they ended up going bankrupt. They kicked me off the team like 3/4 of the way through the year and hired one of the sponsors was Air Asia, so they wanted an Asian rider representing the company, I guess, for the last few rounds. And so it was like a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Because I went from being, the best in the country the year before here to going over there and really just getting my ass kicked all year and crashing a lot. But it was a huge learning experience. I learned a lot. Came back, was a much better person, much better rider, I think. And just took it as an experience. And I got to travel the country, and it would have been on the team's dime, but they ended up owing me $100,000 at the end of the year, so it was on my dime. So it turned out it was just a cool experience at the end of the day.
It sounds crazy, but to come back in the U.S. and all the rounds, you are the biggest characters on the paddock. Like, you have a huge fan base, very personal. Matter of fact, I feel like we don't even need to do an interview today, because you've been chatting with everybody after a ride and spending some time around. So your character, personality in the track, I mean, you talked about a rough year overseas, but back in the U.S., man, you're the man.
Well, I just always try to be myself, and I was talking to somebody about it, and I'm sure that there's other racers that have rode on the street, but people who actually like enjoy riding on the street, there's very few, if not any, racers other than me that ride.
One of the few I know, yeah.
And I just enjoy it because I honestly don't really know why I enjoy it so much. But my dad was, rode on the street when I was a kid, and my mom was always anti-riding on the street. And I at some point, I just, after sitting in a bunch of different events like this, and autograph sessions, and talking to fans and listening to some of my heroes talk to fans, and when they asked them, what light do you ride on the street? The answer was always, we don't ride on the street, it's way too dangerous. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like, these guys are people that are buying the bikes, and the reason why we're here racing, why we get paid to race motorcycles. And we got nothing in common with them because none of us do track days, none of us ride on the street. And at one point it just clicked that I needed to, be more relatable and understand why they would want to buy a motorcycle the way they do. And now I've fallen more in love with street riding than I do with riding on the track. I actually enjoy going out to rides like this and hanging out with people like you guys and get to experience that. And most of the time more than racing, because as fun as racing is and as great as that list of things that you listed off is, it's a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times for me, you're losing. So it's not very fun to do your job and lose. So I enjoy going on the street and hanging out with people and get to talk to people, new people, especially now that I've joined the Ducati family. You meet a lot of people like you guys who are super passionate about the same thing that we are, and it's just such an amazing brand and motorcycle to be associated with, and you just have fun doing it. So it allows me when I'm having fun to be myself, and sometimes being myself gets me in trouble, but it's the only time I can perform good is when I truly feel like I'm myself.
I think there's a big thing of that, being true and enjoying what you do and sharing that with people, for sure. One of the few guys that does race and ride bikes. You've had bikes for a while. You had a Panigale V2 of your own earlier, and you're riding a Panigale V4 today.
Yep.
On the street, what do you think the difference between those two bikes are, and is it dramatically different from your race bike?
It's weird because it's the same motorcycle. It's based off the same bike, but it is quite a bit different. I mean, it's a $250,000 race bike. It's probably more than that. But the street bike is insane. Obviously I have a V4S. I rode to you guys this morning. I technically bought that bike because I had a $25,000 purse to win Daytona last year, and I took a bike instead of that. So technically I look at it like I paid for it, and that's how much I like the bike. And a lot of brands, you definitely don't see riders buying the bikes that they race. So
No.
I like the V4. The thing is fast. I remember the first time I ride it, especially a race bike, it's like you're wrestling a bull. Like, that's the only thing I can compare it to. It's so fast. And you see it, if you guys watch the races, you see how fast that thing is. So that compared to the V2 it's a lot different. I enjoy riding the V2 a lot, but I really enjoy that super sport class, just because I've done so many years of super sport racing. So it's two different things, but I honestly enjoy racing the super sport bike a little bit more because I can kind of control the bike more, where the super bike on the V4, it's controlling me most of the time. I'm just on. So it's both really great bikes.
That's awesome. Thinking back to Daytona, you've won it 3 times, and you get a Rolex watch for every race as well.
Yeah.
Do you ever wear them?
No.
No way.
The first year I won it, I didn't get the watch because it was going to the pole. Back then I never got pole got a watch, but I do have 2 of them now. And but no, they sit there, and it sucks. And I want to wear them, but I'm afraid to wear them because you're wearing. Somebody offered me $50,000 for one of those, so it's like I'm gonna wear $50,000 on my wrist. I'm sure. I'm definitely not tough enough to fight someone off, and they see that and they won. So I say.
So in the motorcycle world, and most of you guys probably know this, but the Daytona 200 is a big deal. Like there's people who race internationally, and you ask them, what race would you want to win the most? Very high on top of that list is the Daytona 200. So to win it 3 times, that's really incredible. What type of preparation do you go in for that race? Because it's very different from a normal road race throughout the season. What's the prep and the planning to going into the Daytona compared to just a normal prep for you?
For me, it is different. Because we only do that one time. We only have one race. Every race we do is 28 minutes to 35 minutes. So it's a totally different animal. We're out there for over 2 hours, and it's the easiest track that we go to physically, but still you're on the motorcycle for 2 hours, and when you're tucked in on the banking, which is total of maybe 25 seconds or so of the lap, tucking in that tight is oftentimes the hardest part of the whole lap of the track, because it's like you're sitting in I don't know how to explain it, like a plank basically the whole time. Your core is tight. You're trying to pull in as tight as you can. Not only is your core tight, you're squeezing as tight as you can to stay in that position, and your neck really gets worn out a lot. So a lot of hours on the bicycle, honestly. Like I ride my bicycle in the off season. Shortest rides that I do are 2 hours long. So sometimes 4-hour days or something like that. I think that helps a lot. But mentally, it's the hardest thing. Is that as your entry, right? You're sitting on a bike for 2 hours. You got to be perfect every lap. And you really got to rely on that team. Like, that's the coolest part about Daytona, is that it's not just about you. Like, it never is just about me at the races. The team puts in more work than I do, but you don't get to see it. Where at Daytona, you get to see the crew doing the job that they're doing. And what was really cool this year is Loris Baz is my teammate this year. If any of you guys know who he is or watch my social media, like, the guy is a character, and we just get along so well. And he was my gas man this year, so that was like so cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and my dad was my rear wheel guy, which is even cooler because now my dad's been, and he's not, I don't even know how he ended up being the rear wheel guy. He just ended up doing it. He's not a mechanic, but somehow we had 2 years in a row. My dad was the rear wheel guy on my factory Ducati, and we won crates. And then my teammate was the fuel guy. He probably never put fuel on his own bike in his life. Somehow it worked out. And then,
Well, don't change that for next year then.
it's but all the real work is team putting stuff together. I mean, you see so many teams where they lose it in the pits, or they lose it, because something breaks on the bike. And these guys, Warhorse Racing Team, had put together a great bike for me both years. And first year we ran out of gas. That really sucked. There should have been another win, I feel like, but it was just getting, learning to be two on the track. We didn't have any experience, but fuel mileage for it, so it's really difficult to do. And luckily 2 years in a row we were able to do this.
Yeah, man. That's, like I said, every time I think of that, it's just incredible.
So, as difficult and amazing as that race is, it doesn't actually influence the Moto America round at all. Like, there's no point to carry from that. So the full season really started last weekend at Road Atlanta, right?
Yeah, which it's really strange because it's a super sport race. You would think they would still somehow include in that, but yeah, it's a one-off deal. So Superbike started last weekend, and that was cool. It was the first time I rode the bike since September. The V4R was the week before at Barber. We didn't get much testing this winter. We came out swinging at the first round, and we were top two in every session leading up to it. Qualified third actually, so top three every session. We were leading the race, and then I call it. I got Josh Herrin on lap 7. Somebody pumped me off the track. So
You did keep it up though, like dirt tracking it through there, bringing it back on.
and the coolest thing was that we were able to put in a bunch of fast laps and prove that we were the fastest people on the track that day consistently. And so we got a lot of confidence going into Barber. Race 2 is Sunday. It rained. I don't like to talk about that. It was terrible, but yeah, it was a good start to the year in the dry.
Yeah, nice.
So going into the season, how do you prepare for the whole season? Because there's a pretty good off time between the end of last year and then the Daytona race, and then some time for now. Like, do you focus on downtime? Do you focus on training? Is it cardio? Is it? Do you just wait and see what happens?
Yeah, my whole life, this is my 19th year now racing professionally, so it's I've gone through like a lot of trial and tribulation, like trying to figure out the training. And the best thing for me is just been riding my bicycle, and I don't do any workouts. Like riding a motorcycle on the track that's 250 horsepower plus is my workout. And then for my muscle, and then getting on the bicycle and just building my cardio up. It's been the last 2 years. I've like December, January, February. We're not talking e-bikes here for those of you that ride mountain bikes.
That's right. We talking about.
No e-bikes over there, Ducati biker. But we're climbing like in those 3 months, 200,000+ feet of elevation. So it's a lot of that. And I learned that I feel the best for whatever reason that I have my whole life. So bicycle is really where it's at, just keeping your cardio up and being able to, if you guys are track day people or whatever, getting into racing, like really cardio is like the most important thing on a motorcycle. Like you look at Alvaro Bautista, Didi Boros, like these guys are twigs. They're so small. I mean, I'm a pretty small guy, and these guys are 30, 40 pounds lighter than I am. They're wrestling V4R and what's like winter races. So I think there's a lot to be said about that, and just being small and good cardio is, for me, worked out the most.
Yeah, that's cool.
And spending time with my family, I mean, like that's the best time. I'm a new dad, like kid's 2.5 years old, so just like everything on the racetrack feels slow now after having a kid.
That's Griffin, right?
Yeah.
So would you encourage him to chase after a motorcycle racer, or would you say no way?
I don't know. That's like I definitely like it. Yeah, a wife, no way. And it's such a great life being a motorcycle racer, but people don't. I hate talking about it because you sound like a spoiled kid. Like, look at you, you have this great life. you ride a motorcycle, and I do. But people don't realize what, if things don't go great, not just the injuries, but one day it's like you just go to work and you're fired. And then it's not like there's hundreds of jobs to choose from. It's like I have one job and I have 5 teams that I can go to, and if you don't make it work, it's just a lot of stress. And there's been years where I didn't make any money racing a motorcycle for a team, but that's what made me realize that doing events like this and getting deals with OnlyFans or Red Bull or Monster or whoever you're with, these brand deals were so important, so I got good at it. And doing that is what's made me be able to make money. But it's the injuries suck, but it's also just a stressful things that do. I bet. There's plenty of times where I wish I just quit school or built houses with my dad or something like that. But I'm super happy for the life I have, and I just want him to do what makes him happy, because at the end of the day, that's what everybody should be doing. It's just whatever makes him happy.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you're a local boy. You're a SoCal boy, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm from Glendale, California. We moved to Georgia when I was 13, but I'm been back in California for the last 10 years. We just bought a house over in Canyon Lake, if anybody knows that is, Canyon Hills area. I lived in Costa Mesa and Huntington for 4 years, so yeah, my goal is to be back in this area. I love the people over in Huntington, and that's where I want to end up. But yeah, SoCal.
But you have a lot of family in Georgia still, right?
My immediate family, but it's basically half and half, so
California and Georgia. So what's the Herrin compound I keep hearing about?
Yeah, Herrin Compound was a track, when I first started making money in 2006, we built a track in 2008, and it's a go-kart track, so something like the Hypermono.
Yeah.
I went and did the launch for that in Spain, and that is like a purpose-built Herrin Compound bike. That would be so fun there. But it's usually it's 450s and under, but that's a great bike to ride there. But it's a lot of the kids. I'm trying to think, Ashton Yates right now is somebody that I race against. Brandon Posh, somebody I race against. And these are people that I saw at 8 years old coming to race at our house at the Herrin Compound. And there's just tons of kids and they're in superbike class. I was racing superbike when they were 8 years old, so now they're racing against me in superbikes, and it's just crazy to me that they grew up racing in my house.
Did you use that for a training regimen or developing talent?
Just for months. It was basically, at first it was somewhere for me to train, and then it became, for me and my brothers to train. And then it became we had go-kart rentals and we ran races. And then at one point I started running my own races. So I was spending $15,000 a year, sometimes just doing repairs on the track, buying a $20,000 timing system that they use in Moto America. And, one weekend we had people from 17 different states come and race at the house. So it's it was a big thing for me when I was there. But now my mom and my sister run it, and they have races there, but it's more of you can call and say, hey, I want to come ride my bike today, and you just show up and ride the bike.
Kind of cool. Yeah, cool.
It's a cool place for adults to feel learn to ride, or even people who are experienced to ride. But it's more than that. It's like the Sandlot is where when I look at it, I know that love. It's family owned, mom and pop type of thing, and people come and raise their kids riding motorcycles. It's just cool.
That's the way you should be, right?
Yeah,
I think.
So 2 more questions, then we're done. You're rolling. Coming up in July, Ducati riding experience at Laguna Seca.
Yep.
You're one of the coaches here. Tell me about what you do up there at the riding experience.
Yeah, that was so. I did some of the revs days, but this is something a little bit different.
This is a higher level, yeah.
Yeah, so COTA, we did it last year. It's really neat. So Ducati customers can come and, I don't know, they're not doing rentals, but you bring your own bike.
Yeah, you bring your own bike.
But it was a really cool experience, and I got teamed up with 5 people, so we basically share a garage together. You feel like a factory rider, they have people taking care of your stands, your warmers. I don't know if every level is like that. This level that I coach was like that. It was a neat experience because it was just all Ducatis on the track, and it's the day after we get done racing there, so you get to watch us race all weekend and come and hang out with a lot of the different racers. It's very unique. Something I've only done it once, so I don't have a whole lot of experience to tell you about, but it was very fun, and just seeing how happy people were. And what the coolest thing was, obviously Laguna Seca is, I would say, the most iconic track in the United States. And what's neat about riding the day after is it's like if you've ever played a video game where you can have the ghost line showing you a line around the track. Our lines are on the track, so you'll see the perfect lines. It's cut out. I don't know, all the rubber laid down. You can just see the perfect line. No matter what bike you're on, that's the line to take. And So it's a cool event, man. They make you feel like you're a factory rider. My dad did it with me last year, and you got to feel that whole experience. And yeah, so if you get a chance to go, just even the experience for the sake of the Motor America weekend is great. But if you, on top of that, if you're able to do that experience, it's amazing.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And lastly, Ducati last won the World Super, or the
Oh, here we go.
This is it.
The pressure question.
This is the pressure question. 1994, we won Superbike and AMA back then.
Yeah.
Geraldo Faraci was part of the team, created the team.
Yeah.
Geraldo's still in the background with the team now. So this is the 30th year. 30 years. You were close last year, this close.
Yeah.
What would it mean? What would it mean to win the Superbike Championship in the U.S.?
It'd be huge. I mean, the year we won the Super Sport title on the V2, it was the first championship, I think. I don't remember how many years, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
Something
Yep.
years, for Ducati. And, then when we won Daytona.
So you've proven you're going to do it. You've proven it's there.
A little bit harder. But it'd mean a lot, man. I mean, Faraci, those of you guys that know who Geraldo Faraci is, he's been around for a long time. Some of the stuff he tells me about, it's crazy. Like, you watch Supercross, you got Husqvarna's first ever Supercross win was Geraldo Faraci's team. He was the owner of Husqvarna for a long time, I think. The dude has won so many different levels of racing. He's had every world champion basically ride for him, and he's the coolest guy that you ever meet. And it's so fun hanging out with him. And he's, I think, 84 years old, and he's just
The coolest dude you'll meet.
Yeah.
And that's who I want to be when I grow up.
He's awesome, and he treats my family like we're his family. So not just for Ducati, but for, Bobby at HSBK Racing, for the Naples at Ducati North and Warhorse Racing, and just the Ducati community. Like, it would just be the coolest thing. And yeah, we definitely celebrate if we did that. And
Yeah,
we
no doubt.
got a vodka sponsor now. Good Boy Vodka, so we're gonna be celebrating big time.
No doubt. Well, the closest race in California, actually the West Coast, is going to be Laguna Seca,
Yep.
July 11, 12, I think. So
Yep.
if you guys are around, let's make sure we go up so we can cheer on Josh.
Yeah.
Hey, we just wanted to come up with you this morning. D-Rock in the house this morning.
Yeah.
Before you roll, are there any questions real quick that we want to ask Josh before we send him out of here? Oh, I was easy.
What's the top speed on your race bike on the V4?
Oh, for us, we don't go, it's not like drag race type things. The fastest that we'll get this year is probably I would say 194, 195, something like that. But we don't race in Daytona on the Superbikes anymore. But 10 years ago, we were doing I did 207 miles an hour Daytona on the Superbike. If we were to go there now on the V4R, I'd say it'd be close to the 215 range or something like that. So the thing's nuts. And if we were able to go to a track like Magello, I don't know what Superbikes do there, but it's nuts. I mean, yeah, it was 215, 220.
Yeah, flat, so.
Fast.
I got a question. You set bike up real loose, so your tail happy all the time?
The way you rode today, it looked like that.
No. Was that a serious question? Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm more of I didn't grow up flat tracking, but I like a loose bike. I like the thing sliding around. I like the feel from it. A lot of guys like it to just be like you have a super sticky qualifying tire all the time. They don't like to get down the line. And that's where, at the end of the race, it's struggle. Where for me, I prefer the thing moving around a lot. I would prefer if we have no electronics on the race bikes. I love them for street bikes and track days, but race bikes, if we could just let the tire eat and move around, for me, it would be the best. I feel like I would thrive in that. So yeah, I try to set it up pretty loose without it messing the tire up too bad.
Yeah. Over here. Do you own any mini bikes?
Yes, yeah, a lot of mini bikes. Yeah, Huawei was a big sponsor of mine for a while, so I got 5 Huaweis, and yeah, a lot of mini bikes.
Anything else?
Other than motorcycle racing, motorcycles in general, outside of that world, what is your next hobby?
I would say, to be honest, I'm not saying this to just say it, but if any of you have kids, that becomes your world. It really helps. I love seeing him. The other day, it was he's to a hat, just riding a pedal for the first time. Just getting to experience things like that, and is really cool. But if it was, some type of hobby, I love woodworking. I'm a huge baseball, basketball fan, like we talked about. A big Dodgers fan. Like baseball is like an amazing thing that I'm into. My friend pitched for the Phillies. He just got traded to the Dodgers, so it's like the coolest thing in the world to me that I have a friend that plays for the Dodgers now. So I go to as many Dodgers games as I can, riding supermoto. Yeah, just riding on. Honestly, I have fun riding on the street and shooting video. Like I think that's really fun for me. I just see the trouble doing a lot of stuff. Sometimes you guys see me doing the wheelies and backing it in, doing all this stuff, jumping the bikes, but then I get in trouble and then it goes away for a couple months, but then I win some races and I do it again, and I get in trouble again. So, but yeah. Thank you to all of you for coming out and being Ducati customers and making something like this possible. Because for me to be able to come and do something like this, I have a lot of fun doing it, and I enjoy it as much as you guys do.
Yeah. A lot of support from D-Rock, a lot of support from Ducati Newport Beach. Thanks for coming out, man. Appreciate it.